Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Kama Jiu-Jitsu. I've been getting a lot of questions as our page has been growing, and I want to thank you for all those questions. I want to answer them as quickly as I can, and it's a lot easier for me to just answer them and by creating a video for it rather than just answering your question right in the box, because I'll get asked again by somebody else, usually on a different video. I wanted to answer Twice Baked Potatoes, subscriber Twice Baked Potato, as well as subscriber DS Wins question, which is really the same. It's kind of a follow-up to the belt promotion video I just did a little while back. And the question is, how do you promote? Do you promote with a test? You know, because some schools do belt testing, some schools don't. So I guess the question was, how do we promote? It's more like the old system where we don't do any formal belt testing. So a lot of schools, what they'll do is they'll set up dates and times for belt testing. And let's say today is December 6th, right? So they'll tell everybody, all right guys, December 15th, we're going to do testing. They'll either do it in a way where they pick out certain people and say, it's time for you to get tested for your second stripe on your blue belt or your brown belt or whatever. They'll tell you, okay, on the 15th, we're going to do testing, so make sure you're there in class. And oh, by the way, testing costs $25 or whatever they're going to charge. I don't know what they charge. So then everybody kind of gathers together. You know, some people will do it as a way to just simply have an excuse for a gathering. You know, people kind of look forward to it and they do these things. And, you know, they're not bad. They're good. It just really depends on the way the school is run. The question is, on that, let's say a guy who is a purple belt, 4th stripe, ready to become a brown, and he is, by all measures that I have, you know, based on the curriculum, and I know he can do it, he's a brown belt. But if I tell him he needs to show up for testing, then he's got something else to do, so he doesn't show up. So he doesn't get tested. In my mind, he's a brown belt. He's no longer a purple belt. But because he didn't show up for testing and didn't pay his 25 bucks, he's still gonna be a 4th stripe purple belt, which he probably doesn't care. It really doesn't matter. But what am I going to do? Am I going to keep holding his belt back because he didn't come to the formal testing session and didn't pay his $25? I don't know, right? You know, I know Hickson, a while back, Dave was telling me how Hickson, this was after I left Hickson school, Hickson would actually do formal testing, but it would take 2 to 5 hours. And he would just run you through all the criteria that you need to know. You know, I remember that's how Professor Fernando got tested for his brown belt. Hickson called him and 2 other brown belts, or I think they were purple belts, getting ready to be brown belts, in. So he tested 3 of them, and I think it took him several hours. And he went through everything with them. He wanted to make sure they knew everything, and make sure, you know, Dave was teaching them, for instance. And to me, that's real testing. But for the most part, most testing, it's not that real. You know, they might have, you know, 20, 30 people testing for stuff. How do you test that many people? I don't know. Or what do you do? You know, I've heard of somewhere, you know, let's say you're a Gracie University student, you know, you're an online student, and you want to be tested for a belt. So you need to go find their nearest certified training center professor and have him test you. Basically, you book him for a private or 2, however many hours it takes, and you pay him to test you. What's their goal? Is their goal to flunk you, or is their goal to make you pass? Like a smog check, right? It's pass or fail. Well, what is it? It's pass or free, something like that. They have them in California. So if you fail the smog test, then they're going to tweak your car any way they can to make it so you pass. So basically, you're paying to get your belt. You know, that could be one way to do it. We don't do that though formally, and what we do instead is, I'm keeping an eye on people all the time, right? I always know where they are, technique wise, and you know, it ebbs and it flows. Sometimes they're running a period of time where they're the hammer. Sometimes they're running a period of time where they're the nail. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that they're going through the techniques. They understand the concepts. I may quiz them on something, just very informally. Hey, what do you do if I put my weight over here? Or why am I putting my weight over here when you're playing guard, for instance, right? And then they answer. And if they don't know the answer, then I just tell them. And I give them the answer. I don't hold it back, right? And then I'll go on to do my other stuff. But I'll always keep this person in the back of my mind. Usually when I'm evaluating somebody for a belt, for a belt change, I'm looking at them for a good 3 to 6 months. What I'm doing is I'm trying to get them to get up to a certain speed. For the instructors that are above them, I tell them, hey, this person we're looking at for this belt, so you need to work on this person with this technique whenever you train with them. And that's the way. It's kind of a longer process where we're testing them, but really what we're doing is we're trying to get them up to the level they need to be. And once they get up to that level, then I make sure they're at that level for a period of time before they get their promotion. And one of the things Dave likes to do is he likes to make sure that you're at least one stripe above that particular rank. Let's say if I give somebody a blue belt, he's probably, if we were to test him, he'd test out at blue belt first stripe. And the reason why Dave does that is because he wants to make sure that the person is kind of holding steady at that level before we give them the belt. Because what we don't want is we don't want for somebody to get the rank and maybe even get it on time, but then have that period of time that we always do where they're kind of in a rut and everybody just seems to beat on them. Just get tap, 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 can't get out of stuff, just for some reason, they're just kind of in a funk. And we want to make sure that when they're in that funk, they're still at level. Back in the old days, it was where, if I'm a blue belt, if I'm supposed to be a blue belt, I'm already training with blue belts and I'm beating them. Or at the very least, I'm hanging with them. So then the instructor would look at you and go, okay, so you're a white belt, but you're hanging with and going tit for tat with existing blue belts. So therefore, you're a blue belt. It depends on what the instructor's thinking. So for instance, with me, if the person is small and they train with a big person, I don't expect them to catch the big person if that big person has been training as long as them and has similar technical knowledge. What I look more for is, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it? And if those supposed to's are at, in this case, let's say blue belt, at the blue belt level, then they're a blue belt. I let them sit with that level for a little bit, and then after a period of time when I'm comfortable with them doing it, then I'll give them the blue belt. Oftentimes there is a second, I mentioned this in another video, oftentimes there's a separate individual challenge that I'll issue to them, and I want them to deal with that challenge, and then I'll give them something. And it can be a personal thing, or it could be having something to do with their game. The blue belt is a very important belt. They're all important, but to me the blue belt is the most important one. It shows that you've made the changes in your life to become successful in jiu-jitsu. And chances are, if you get to your blue belt level and if you're having fun, then I see no reason for you to not make it to black belt. Just keep coming to class and keep learning. Just as you learn from white to blue, continue learning from blue to purple, purple to brown, and then the black belt will come. But by the time you get to your blue belt level, you've made so many changes in your life, in your thinking, right? Now you're seeking discomfort. Now you understand the importance of the technical aspect over the physical aspect. Your body has gotten in better shape by training. You've gotten a lot of things that a normal person wouldn't have. You've gotten a lot of things put into your muscle memory where you'll do it all the time, like standing up in base, like automatically basing when somebody grabs you from behind or in front or something like that, right? Those are all things that should be automatic by the time you're a blue belt. The rest of the belts really are, you have some advanced techniques that you'll be doing, plus getting to know the techniques better that you already know, getting them down to a higher level. So, do we formally test? No. It's more of an informal thing, but like I said, we do have a list of people that we keep an eye on, and as people start to rise to the top, then they become put onto that list. That's the way that works for us. And for the people that have been sitting with a particular belt for really long, I need to find out why they've been sitting at that belt for very long. For instance, if you've been a purple belt for 5 years, why are you a purple belt for 5 years? Is it because of your schedule? Is it because of, you're not really learning things? I don't know. It's my job to figure out why that is the case. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I want to thank you guys for continuing to contribute to the page. I really appreciate it. So does Dave. If there's anything else that we can answer for you, feel free to shoot them in the questions, or you can PM us on the Facebook page, Kama Jiu-Jitsu. and we'll be happy to get to them. Until then, take care. Happy training. Bye-bye.